It is time for the 22nd NASCAR Winston Cup Series season, and for the 22nd time, the season kicks off here at the World Center of Racing, Daytona, for the Daytona 500. It's a crazy racetrack as always, and we're gonna get to see which of the 42 drivers can become the next Daytona 500 champion. I'm Joe Rokowski. Alongside me in the booth is a prior Daytona 500 champion. It's Trey Bardo. And Trey, as always, great to be back up here in the booth to start off the season at Daytona. It's a crazy race as always, but it's a very prestigious race, Trey. Everyone wants to win this one. They want to be known as a Daytona 500 winner in the record books. What do you think the race is going to be like here today to start off the 2002 season?
Oh, Joe, I think it might be as hectic as it was last season. I mean, there's going to be a big one, right? You almost have to guarantee a big one here for this race, and it's going to be an endurance-type race because, I mean, you really have to patience yourself and get yourself in the right position by the end of this thing to hopefully, cycle yourself out in front.
It was interesting, contrary to most of the races last season, in the Daytona 500 in 2001, there was only one caution flag. It occurred on lap number 3. It was a smaller crash towards the back of the field, and the rest of the race went caution-free to the end and was very aggressive throughout. So, Trey, knowing that, do you think that maybe the drivers will try and be a little bit calmer early on to make sure they can, last their cars throughout, or is it going to be just the same as we saw last season as they're going crazy from the get-go?
Joe, I hope these guys learned from last season, the entirety of last season, but at the same time, I'm thinking, I'm starting to think they haven't.
Well, fortunately, the duels were clean. Hopefully, they could be more like the duels. Let's talk about some of the drivers up towards the front before we get down to the green flag. On pole for this race, Jasper Motorsports, their new 67 car. Jack Haas behind the wheels, driven for Bill Davis Racing the past 2 seasons. We'll see if that underdog team can find victory here at Daytona. To his outside, Keegan Thompson won this race back in 2000. We know he knows how to get it done at these restrictor plate type racetracks. We'll see if Keegan can be a force to be reckoned with. Behind them, 2 very strong contenders to maybe win this race. They both won their dual races. Zachary DeLello in 3rd, Chris Jericho, last season's champion, in 4th. Watch for those drivers. And watch for Luke Rainey in the 88 in 5th. Wasn't good in practice, wasn't good in qualifying, but showed pace during the race in the duel. We'll see if Luke can find something from that top 5. Hunter Reed in 6th place is a rookie to the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. We'll see if he can do something special for the Petty team in his first ever start. Right behind him, new start, new team for Jordan Edwards in that number 83, owned by Lathan Strickland. We'll see how that works out for that number 83 team. Jordan Stout, one of the drivers who we figure can be in the championship race here this season. And then rounding out the top 10, Evan Hunter for MB2. They won at a plate track last season with Evan at Talladega. And then Justin Zaidel in the 24 starts in 10th place. So, Trey, of those top 10, we have 2 Hendrick cars. We have 2 Roush cars, a Joe Gibbs, but then a bunch of other, smaller teams mixed throughout that. Which of those top 10 do you think has the most realistic shot to get done here today?
Well, Joe, you saw the 18 during the duel, right? Once he got out front, I don't think he was looking back.
So do you think Chris Jericho maybe could be the one to possibly get it done here today?
If he can get out front, it's definitely a chance. But then again, like in the same exact duel, though, Joe, the 30 got out front, and he led what? Literally all but 2 laps, 1 lap?
Yeah, pretty much. So we'll have to see how it all plays out here at Daytona, but watch for that driver in 4th place. Can Chris Jericho pick up where he left off last season by winning the championship and maybe by winning this Daytona 500? As we'll take a look at our Ford Fast Facts here today in the Daytona 500. Clear skies here. It's a beautiful day for racing. 70 degrees. It is absolutely gorgeous. 5 miles an hour wind in the southwest direction. A little bit chance of rain, 3%. We don't expect that to happen, but it's Florida. You never do know here at Daytona. And it's going to be a 40-lap race, 100 miles, and there is no need for pit stops for fuel in this one. These drivers can go all 40 laps on a tank of 76 racing fuel, so watch for that throughout the race. As if you come down pit road, maybe it's because your car isn't handling well, or you have some damage under a caution flag. As we look at some of the track facts as well, this track is 2.5 miles in length, 31 degrees of banking in the turns, 18 degrees in the tri-oval, and 3 degrees in the straights. The track opened in 1959, held its first race in the Winston Cup Series here in 1981. Ford has 7 Daytona 500 wins. Their first came in 1982 with Carson Bowers and the Wood Brothers, and their last came in 1998. That was with Roush Racing. So we'll see if Ford can get back on top, but watch for Hendrick Motorsports. They have 3 straight Daytona 500 wins. Jeff Bray in 99, Keegan Thompson in 2000, and last season it went to Brett Sierra. So Trey, looking at kind of those stats right there with, Hendrick, the last 3 Daytona 500s, but Ford has won 7 of the 21. They've won a third of the Daytona 500s run. Is it going to be a Roush car or a Ford car victory lane? Is it going to be a Hendrick car victory lane? Or is it going to be someone else that we haven't talked about?
Can I let you know a little bit later into the race to see who is performing how?
Maybe at halfway. We'll get back to that question for you.
That might help me out a little bit.
Well, it is about time to go trackside for the command to fire the engines up for the 22nd Daytona 500 here in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series season.
Drivers, start your engines!
The command has been given. 42 engines roar to life here at Daytona and Daytona Beach, Florida, to do battle in the 22nd Daytona 500. Let's go back and talk about some drivers throughout this field. One of them, Sebastian Kukulan in the 29, moving over for that 30 car, but still with the same team, Richard Childress Racing. Trey, how much do you think this move will affect the team, if it will affect them at all?
It's hard to tell. I mean, I think we heard the owner himself say he was a little surprised by, the sponsor of this car's decision to move. They said they wanted to move the drivers around. So, I mean, I guess at this point, only time's going to be able to tell.
Yeah, hopefully it does work out well for all in the RCR camp. Let's go back a few rows to Brett Sierra in the 25. Won this race last season in his return after injury at the end of the 2000 season. Now he's returning after heartbreak in the 2001 finale, losing the championship to Chris Jericho. Trey, can Brett Sierra find a way to get back to victory lane at Daytona and maybe heal some of the heartbreak from last season by losing the championship?
He definitely knows he's going to go on a revenge tour. I mean, last season, he won 5 races in a row, 4 races, 6 races. It was one of those 3, and he didn't win the championship. So, I mean, if there's one person more motivated to go out there and win it this season, it's got to be this man right here.
Yeah, we'll see if Hendrick can continue that success they had from last season. Go back a little bit further. Eli Brent, that Bud Light number 8 car. Trey, could this finally be the season where he breaks through, gets that first victory in the Winston Cup Series?
I don't think there's a single driver in this field hoping that he doesn't win this season. I mean, he's come so close a couple of times and yet still has to do it. So we'll have to see if 2002 is the year.
Well, start towards the back. We'll see if he can make his way through the field throughout the 40 laps. At the front, though, it's Jack Haas and Keegan Thompson on the front row for the 22nd Daytona 500. They come into the tri-oval to see the green flag. It's waving in the wind, and we're underway at Daytona Beach, Florida. Remember, with the restrictor plates on these cars, it takes about a lap and a half to get up to full song. You know that, Trey. So at the moment right now, they're still gaining speed as they hunt down the backstretch into turns 3 and 4 for the first time today.
Yeah, I mean, so far, from what we've seen, from last season, this start's been pretty relaxed.
It has. Just mostly double file. We have 1 row 3 wide back there, but at the moment, mostly double file throughout the field. It's going to be the pulse here, Jack Haas for Jasper Motorsports, leading the first lap, and that's kind of big right there because that's 5 bonus points right there towards the championship throughout the season. So remember, a lap led 5 bonus points. Now Jordan Edwards to the end side, that number 83, trying to lead the first ever laps for Fitz Bradshaw Racing here at Daytona.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, the kinks that new teams come with here. You never know what the problems they're going to experience is, but for them just being able to come out here to Daytona for their first ever race as a team and possibly even lead a lap, that's just got to be, something to look forward to.
And right behind him, Evan Hunter kind of pushing him away. I think there was maybe some bumping down the backstretch between those two. They pulled a few car length gap over the 7 of Jose Mills and the 2 of Zachary Fitzwater Sr. As they battle off 4, Edwards is going to do it. He'll lead the first laps for Fitz Bradshaw Racing. Lathan Strickland might not see that's happened, but he'll definitely love it at the end of the race once he gets out of the car and sees that Jordan Edwards is able to get up there and lead this race for a little bit. So they're 3 wide. Kukulon to the bottom of the 29 going for 3rd place. The front 2 trying to stay clear of that.
Wow, that 83 is just pulling the 36 away from everyone else. I mean, those two do not seem like they want to separate, and I don't see a reason why they should.
Yeah, at the moment, Evan, I think, is just content, right? Oh, well, never
Oh,
mind.
never mind. Well, yeah, never mind, Joe. You were saying?
Well, maybe, you know what? Maybe he saw that Kukulon was breaking away and starting to gain, and he said, well, maybe now's my chance to get to that lead myself. So now Evan Hunter moves low. He'll grab the lead through 3 and 4. He'll try and lead the third lap of this Daytona 500. Kukulon from Richard Childress Racing hunting him down, looking to the inside. As they enter the trial, leader of the third lap is going to be Evan Hunter. Kukulon beside him and by him at the end of the trial. Here comes Samet Oskin, Riley Spurtube, Anderson Reed back in the Winston Cup Series, and AJ Foyt Racing also back. Both of which, you know, the team and driver skipped out on the 2001 season, but now Reed is back after his hiatus, and AJ Foyt Racing, after not finding a driver last season, back with Reed. Could this be a match made in heaven for both those, you know, team and driver?
It definitely could be here, but I mean, Joe, it's only the first race, you know. So I'm not saying like it might turn bad, but I thought Luke was going to try to shoot the gap there, but it might not turn bad, but it also might not work out the way that, you know, they're hoping for. It's just the reality of, you know, this sport.
Kukulon leading the double foul train. He'll lead the fourth lap of this Daytona 500. Behind him comes Matt Oskin and Riley Spurtube trying to push their way up on the inside with Reed, Mitchell Collins, Benny Lynn, and there's Brett Sierra. Found his way down in line, that number 25. Jordan Stout with them. Sierra won this race last season. Look at back on top here at Daytona. Keegan Thompson, winner of this race 2 seasons ago. Currently in the middle lane, trying to find his way up through there. And their teammate, remember, Justin Seidel is the only other 100 car in here, even though there's 400 cars. Trey, their other teammate, Jason Albert, the 48, actually missed out from his duel.
Yeah, that was I honestly think that shocked a lot of people, Joe. I don't know about you, but seeing the reaction from the crowds and the other teams, they were pretty, you know, surprised to see that 48 didn't make it with it being a Hendrick car. But again, like I said, I mean, they're going to pretty much be in the same situation as Kukulon was in last season. That he's going to make some races and he's not going to make them all, but the ones he does make, he has to make sure he can capitalize on it and get into his spot where he can make all the races from here on out.
Exactly. Once we get past race 5, he needs to be inside the top 35 in points, and to do that, he has to qualify for these races, and the races he does qualify for, he has to show up in performance at the top 10, top 5. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it at Daytona, but it's just kind of the luck of the draw and didn't have the owner's points to fall back on. At the front, Spurtube leads off Mitchell Collins. Benny Lynn was trying to follow them through, but gets shuffled out by Brett Sierra in the 25. Jordan Stout, and there's Atkins. Remember that 30 car Trey mentioned how strong he was when he got out front his duel? Well, Atkins moves his way up to 5th place in that 30. Behind him comes Lathan Strickland. Stout looking low on Brett Sierra, and right behind Strickland, here comes Atkins' teammate, that number 31. It's Conrad Evans.
You saw how strong this 30 was in his duel, right? I mean, once he got out front, he was pretty much a consistent 2-3 car lengths in front of everyone else, and then by the time someone passed him, it was his own, you know, teammate that was able to do it.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem with Atkins was once he got shuffled back in traffic, he never could really make it back up. So we'll see if Atkins now, he has the track position. Can he try to hold it, or will he fall back? Lathan Strickland up to 4th, got by Brett Sierra and Atkins right there. The battle is on for a second. Jordan Stout getting by that number 12 Mitchell Collins, and Trey, as Spurtube comes off turn number 4, he'll be the first driver in this race to lead consecutive laps of this Daytona 500. Riley Spurtube leads lap 6 and now leads lap 7.
You know, I honestly think it's a little win in itself if you can lead more than 3-4 laps in this type of racing situation, just because, I mean, we've been through how many leaders so far? We're only 8 laps into it.
It's actually kind of an interesting race how it's playing out right now. The front of the pack kind of spread out, you know, mostly double file. Then you have the 3-wide pack behind, and then there's the drivers even behind that kind of lagging back, wondering if that 3-wide is going to cause an accident at all and not wanting to get up into it too close. But at the moment, Trey, this 28 looks pretty strong out in front. Riley Spurtube holding about a car length or 2 gap ever since he's gotten the lead. Lathan Strickland trying to close in, but needs the help to do it. Maybe that help comes from Benny Lynn in that number 11 car, and then here comes Lathan's teammates, Anthony Ness and Eli Bright. They're trying to get up there and join Lathan Strickland at the front of the field.
This is, I don't think we've ever seen, when was the last time we've seen all 3 DEI guys together?
Well, I mean, it kind of happened, what was it, Phoenix last season, but it was kind of a bad scenario where they were all back around 20th place.
Let me rephrase that question. Hold on.
At the front of the field.
We saw them all together at the front of the field.
Yeah, I don't know if it's happened at all, really.
Well, hopefully we see more of it here, but the 11 is going to help Lathan get back to his teammate Eli, just, you know, losing a spot. Was actually Lathan shut the door on him.
He did slam that door shut. Eli's going to fall back on the outside. No drafting up whatsoever. He is the only car out there. You can see how fast he is falling.
Yeah, he is dropping like a rock right now.
Evan Hunter to the inside of that number 11 of Benny Lynn for third place. Coming with them is Laura Chung, picked up by Evernham Motorsports. Her teammate Noel Lawrence, also another one of the big drivers to miss out in this Daytona 500. So the 19 team will look forward to the next few races to try and qualify. But Laura Chung in it for Evernham, trying to put out a good performance in her first ever effort for this team. We know she can do well at these super speedway type races. We'll see if she can try and do it here at Daytona. Moving low with Evan Hunter, trying to push him to the inside, Lathan Strickland. And coming with, here comes Jordan Edwards. They'll go 3 wide for second place.
That's going to shuffle Strickland out wide. He's all the way up the track. I don't know if he did that to be safe so he didn't run into the 36, or maybe he got pushed out that far. I'm not sure, but now he has no one behind him.
And here comes Chung for the lead into the trial. Sprint Tube still leads that lap, but it's going to be a pass for the lead. Laura Chung moving out in front. Here comes Jordan Edwards and Anthony Hernandez. They are alliance, remember. Strickland owns that 83 team, but Hernandez leaves Edwards out into turn 1 and will go for second himself, and it leaves Laura Chung clearing the lead in that number 9 car. When now here comes Jack Carter in the 21 up behind. Didn't really have a good practice, not a good qualifying, not a good duel. Made it in via owner's points, and now making the most of it. Jack Carter, rookie to the series, moving up for second place now.
Now, Joe, with Chung leading out there, I gotta ask you from your standpoint, how did the transition with everything, all the drivers go from your viewpoint?
It worked well. Nolan Lawrence, Laura Chung, they are both very, very talented drivers that didn't really have the equipment the past few seasons to make it work. So I think now with Evernham, if we have improved from last season with our equipment, they can definitely show their talent behind the wheel of a stock car, and I think Laura Chung doing it right now out in front here at Daytona.
Definitely, and then I see her teammate there, couple about 4 or 6 cars back on the inside line.
Pseudo teammate.
Well, you quote unquote teammate.
Alliance teammate. Yeah, Bibi Ruiz, who is in an alliance with the Evernham cars.
It's the same paint scheme. You can pretty much say they're teammates.
Only for Daytona at the moment. It's going to change paint schemes after that. But yeah, they Dodge brought out all their paint schemes for Daytona here with these kind of alliance cars. But we have Luke Rennie going for the lead now in the 88, trying to get his laps led up here in that number 88. Brett Sear up behind him. Tim Gary, winner of Texas World. Kind of like, a Daytona Talladega style race there with a lot of drafting, a lot of pack racing. Tim Gary up third on the inside. Luke Rennie led that lap in the 88. Sear behind with Tim Gary. And how is it, Trey, that, it always seems like Sear and Gary find themselves together?
For better or for worse?
I don't know. Normally it's good, but sometimes it's gotten really bad.
Because, think about the situation they were in first, right? Sierra got hurt during a race. Gary filled in for him. Gary thinking that, maybe this is his shot to get into a bigger name team. It doesn't work out for him. He's still winning with the team he's on right now. He had, 1 or 2 wins last season. But still, just to think that, maybe you got that shot at that 4th car and it doesn't come to. Is he holding any, what's the word I'm looking
resentment?
For? What's that?
Resentment?
Yeah, against Hendrick?
Maybe. You never know, and I think right now he's kind of showing it. Pushing Luke Rennie out into turn 1. Sierra able to get the draft and get down in front of Bibi Ruiz to keep 3rd place. And then here comes that number 66, Nathan Orban, another rookie in the Winston Cup Series. In fact, Haskar Motorsports made big changes throughout the offseason as Gary and Sierra go together down to the inside. That was a synchronized movement. It's going to work to perfection for Tim Gary, who moves out in front here in the Daytona 500.
Look who's pushing him.
Yeah, obviously they're still pretty good friends, it looks like.
As far, well, at the beginning of the Daytona 500, they kind of got to be. But come to less than 5 to go, I don't know if they'll be that good of friends.
Well, they're going 3 wide now as that comes Zachary DeLello looking low for 2nd place. Remember, winner of a duel. His duel at Daytona and looking to try and now win the Daytona 500. A few rows behind him is the other dual winner, Chris Jericho in the 18 behind DeLello. It's his teammate Matthew Burnett behind them, another 4 to Mitchell Collins. Here comes DeLello to the inside. Burnett couldn't make the move down to the inside. He'll get forced to the outside. Zachary DeLello for the lead, and while this battle for the lead happens, have to mention Nathan Baird in the 22 and the number 40 of Logan Williams have both lost the draft, and it looks like Ronald Kennington might also lose the draft in that number 77, so we could have 3 cars out of the draft currently here at Daytona as we're nearing the midpoint of the Daytona 500.
Yeah, those 3 cars got to hope for some sort of caution to come out here before the white, or I guess before 5 to go.
5 to go, yeah.
But there's still plenty of time in this race. And Joe, look who we have going for, look at the first 3 cars on this inside line.
Yeah, that's some big names, big teams right there. Joe Gibbs Racing with Chris Jericho, Justin Atkins with RCR, and Hendrick Motorsports, Justin Zeidel. For Justin, this could kind of be a revenge tour for him. He did not win a race last season, Trey, with how strong Hendrick was, and Gibbs and Roush were kind of the big 3 teams, and how many wins they got together. The fact that Zeidel did not win a race was kind of a failure type season for Justin Zeidel.
Yeah, and honestly, with the way he was running, he was pretty consistent. And I mean, when he was running up front, some of those races, he stayed up front. Like the first race that comes to me is what, Dover last season.
Yep. He
was up front for majority of it. Led even I almost think half the race, and still came up just shy.
Yeah, got passed by, I believe it was Jordan Stout. And
yeah, I think it was, yeah.
And Stout, kind of ran away with that one. Zeidel really fell back. But now the 24 moves out front, trying to lead this lap around. Benny Lynn right behind him. Then here comes Eli right back to the front. Jose Mills, the other kind of, Evernham Alliance team with that Ultra Motorsports number 7 moving up. Keegan Thompson behind him. First time we've called Jamie Stanworth Jr.'s name in that number 4. He's moving up to the front. Roberto Crown Jr., winner at Lowe's last season in the UAW GM Quality 500. He's up in the inside. The pulse there, Jack Costre, making his way back towards the front, trying to break back inside the top 10, that number 67.
Now, did you see all the questionable moves from Eli Bright during the offseason?
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you did you think he was gonna come back?
I always thought he was gonna come back.
Is that right? So
yeah.
You think he was just having some fun with the fans?
I think he was maybe drunk every night of the
I
offseason.
think I saw at least 4 different drivers say, I can have a ride for you if you need one. And Eli each time said, I don't need it. I want to stay out of the car.
Yeah.
And then come practice, he was back in the car.
Come practice, that eight car had Eli Bright's name on the name rail.
So I question what Eli was thinking during that all, and I question what the owner was going through.
Well, he's going to lead this lap right here. Jose Mills tried his darndest, but came up half a car length short, and Keegan Thompson is breaking out 3 wide into turn 1 for the lead. Jose Mills was looking to lead this next lap, but looks like those plans are thwarted because here comes Keegan and Stanworth and Jack Haas. How about Diego Yepes in that 44? Riley Spurgeon coming back to the front with Jordan Edwards and Brandon Beals first sight inside the top 10, that 41 on the inside, moving towards the front.
I was gonna say, another guy who needs a really good season there for this year is that 5 of Keegan Thompson. Think about it, right? 2000, he was literally, I would honestly say, the best driver during the entire season, the most consistent driver. And then he comes up just shy. Last season, Joe, we barely said his name. He had 1 win, 1 or 2 wins, I believe, and that was about it. Yeah. And then if he wasn't getting wrecked on pit road, that was. But, I mean, if anyone needs a big season, it's got to be that 5 team.
Yeah, Keegan Thompson's team was extremely unlucky last season, right? They obviously started very slow. They had a very huge drought at the beginning of the season, a very big slump. But when they overcame it, they started bringing out fast cars, but then had bad luck to go along with those fast cars. Then they finally shook the bad luck and started running well. They actually got up inside the top 500 points at the end of the season, Trey. But unfortunately, the beginning of the season was just not good at all for the 5 team, and it showed as Riley Spurgeon, who's led the most laps here today, moves back out in front as we're coming back around, Trey, to halfway in this 2002 Daytona 500 caution-free so far.
Look at that group that was all 3 wide has caught this front group again, so we're all one big giant pack now. So, I mean, that's going to bring up some more names to the front of this, and you can see the 6 of Stout right here is making his way to the bottom, but he has no one helping now.
Jack Carter will move a little with them. That's these Fords have kind of shown their pace here at Daytona in a good way. Riley Spurgeon's led a lot of laps. Mitchell Collins has been from the front to the back to the front. Zach Fitzwater Sr. is up here. The Roush cars have made their ways up to the front. The Wood Brothers car looks pretty strong. So at the moment, Trey, these Fords look pretty good here at Daytona.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, you know, it's always good to look good during the race, but you have to look good at the end of this race to really make it count.
That is true. And at the moment, it's kind of funny. Every time we've gotten Riley Spurgeon to the front, the pack starts to thin out.
I mean, that's got to show you that this car's got speed. He's able to pull a couple of guys with him, and then the guys behind, the ones he's pulling, get behind him, and the other ones get behind them, and it just goes on to eventually, we're pretty spread out like we are right now, but once this 28 gets passed, if he does, we bunch right back up again. Yeah,
you can see right there from the pack as we get a wide shot here. You can see a lot of 3 wide back there. They were 3 by 3 throughout most of the pack, just 2 or 3 laps to go. But then when Riley Spurgeon got to the lead, it scattered the front of the field out. Now it's single and double foul, but Tim Garrett's a nice run going right here down the back into turns 3 and 4. Not close enough to make a dive to the end. Will stay right behind the 28, but right on the back bumper, leaving Jack Carter and Zach Fitzwater Sr. about 3 3 car lengths back as they exit turn number 4.
Now, this gap these guys have might be a good thing, but at the same time, if the ones behind them can get all lined up and organized, they're going to have a big run on the front 2 here, and is the 21 going to make a move right here? He might have it before they get the 1, not quite though, but you know, they're going to make moves behind them.
It was Diego Yepez to make the move on Zachary Fitzwater Sr. down in front of Lathan Strickland in that number 15. Coming back to the front is Nathan Orman in that number 66. Sebastian Kukulon behind him, trying to make his way back up inside the top 5. Brandon Beal behind them. Yepez makes a move for 3rd place on Jack Carter. And here goes Tim Gary for the lead on Riley Spurgeon into turns 3 and 4. That number 10 has some serious speed here at Daytona. And Gary's going to move out in front through turns 3 and 4. But really no help to either of the front 2. But Gary, the short distance around, should make it work.
Is he able to clear me? I think the 28 got a little bit of a run on the top side there. He's still on the outside of Gary at the moment. But Joe, like you mentioned, once this 28 loses the lead, watch how fast these guys all gather back up. I mean, you could already see it forming.
Yeah, already they're getting pretty close together as here comes Yepez trying to help out Tim Gary. Spurtube hanging tough on the outside, but can't make it work with no help behind him. It'll be Gary to clear. Yepez for 2nd. Orman going for 3rd. Here comes Sebastian Kukulon, Brandon Beal, Keegan Thompson. Keyshawn Richardson was nearly out of the draft about 10 laps ago, and now here he's in at number 99, pushing his way up right behind Keegan Thompson, and Kukulon 3 wide for 3rd place in that number 29.
RCR has you know, shown glimpses of their speed at this, but I mean, none of them have really gotten a chance to really get out front by themselves and see if they truly do have speed in that clean air. And we'll have to see if the 29 can do it, but I mean, he moved up top, and that's going to open up the bottom, and people are going to take that once you give that opportunity to go on the bottom. I mean, that's the shortest way around. It's honestly the fastest way around at the same time.
All right, Trey, 16 laps to go. We have, you know, a kind of break in the action at the front. Tim Gary leading this race. Let's go to our new and improved Advanced Auto Parts question of the week, as we're bringing it back, Trey, for the fans to, you know, hand in their responses to, you know, questions of the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, and you can give your response as well, Trey, if you want.
I you know what? I think my record was decent the last time we did this with a sponsor we don't like to talk about.
It was positive last season, so
you know what? Can we keep track of it this season just to see where we're at?
Maybe we'll have the stat guys in the back keep track of it. But
yes.
Some of these moves that have been made in the offseason, Trey, we've had some pretty big moves. We've narrowed it down to 4 different, you know, moves in the offseason. Which of the following 4 are going to work out the best throughout this 2002 season? Will it be, you know, Jason Albert going to Hendrick Motorsports with a 4th car? Will it be RCR moving their teams around and kind of, you know, moving Kukulon to the 29, Atkins to the 30? How about Evernham with their moves throughout the offseason, picking up Lawrence and picking up Laura Chung? Or how about Chip Ganassi Racing picking up Logan Williams and Brandon Beal, 2 of the underdogs?
If you're going to go with the safe option here, you might honestly have to go with the RCR, just because, I mean, those guys, they didn't switch teams. They just switched cars, right? So they're familiar with the equipment, with the ownership, with the shops and all that stuff. So if I'm going to honestly have to pick, I'm going to go safe option here. I'm going to say the RCR switching is going to be the one that has the most gain to it. As we just saw, Conrad Evans was working with his teammate, then he decided to pass him. But that doesn't mean anything, because I honestly think RCR is going to be the one to show the most growth out of the switches they made.
Well, we'll see which option the fans think is. Thanks to Advanced Auto Parts for coming on and doing that. But at the front of the field, Trey, 2 of the Pontiacs going for the lead. Mathis Wells, the first time we've called that number 20 car here today. Moving to the inside of Tim Gary, trying to get his Pontiac into the wind and lead some laps here at Daytona. Behind him, first time we've called Roger Ray's name at that number 55. Ray moving up to 3rd place on the inside, just passing Noah Clifton, Eli Bright, and Justin Seidel just behind him. In the 8 and the 24, Mathis can't complete the pass on Gary. Led that lap, but that 10 very strong in the outside lane. That 20 car just doesn't seem to have the speed at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because these guys on the bottom aren't pushing, or if that 10 just really is really strong on that outside, because, I mean, the 10 doesn't have anyone behind him to help him. But, Joe, you know what I'm going to say? I'm impressed these guys have kept it clean for so long.
Yeah, we've gone 28 laps of the line, caution-free so far. We have had 3 cars lose the draft. It's Ronald Kennington, Nathan Baird, and Logan Williams that are fortunately out of it. They're definitely hoping that these drivers can have a caution at some point in the near future so that they can have a shot at it. But at the moment, with how these guys have been racing all throughout, it doesn't look like that might happen. Matheus Wells finally clears because they got 3 wide behind him. So now Wells leads the Daytona 500. Eli Bright going for a second. Tim Garrett trying to keep it on the outside but can't. Eli to the inside with Justin Zeidel as pusher. Chris Jericho went middle behind Roger Ray trying to make a move. That stalled out. Evan Hunter moving low. Here comes Jimmy Stammer Jr. back to the front. Benny Lynn and Matthew Burnett as well in that number 17. They're all chasing Matheus Wells down the super stretch.
Yeah, I think you can tell the intensity is starting to pick up a little bit here as they're feeling themselves get closer to the end of this thing. And this is a time where, your friends start to become your foes.
Exactly. Matheus Wells sees Justin Zeidel behind him. Those were 2 drivers that were kind of battling up at the front in select races last season, but it looks like Zeidel might get his plans thwarted by Evan Hunter, that number 36 for MB2. We saw how strong Tim Garrett was out in front. Can Evan do the same when he gets out in front? Jimmy Stammer Jr. trying to get up there and change that. The force to get back in line. Hunter looking low on Wells. It's going to be 2 of the Pontiacs leading the way now with Matheus Wells still in front of Evan Hunter. Here comes Jimmy Stammer Jr. for Morgan McClure Motorsports, and here comes Benny Lynn for Brett Bodine Racing, but can they find a way around this Pontiac of Matheus Wells? There goes Hunter for the lead down the back into turns 3 and 4.
I'm surprised that Ford didn't go with them. I mean, they had a big run going, and he was going to tuck down with Hunter there, and then he decided to go back up top and stay in front of Zeidel, so we'll have to see if that actually ends up hurting him.
That was kind of an interesting move right there. So we're coming back around to 10 laps to go, Trey. So 25 miles remains here at Daytona. It's time to get your way into a proper position to win this one. Here comes Benny Lynn for the lead into turn 1. Evan Hunter can't protect the bottom lane. Lynn moves to the inside. That's 2 Fords working together because right behind him it's Matthew Burnett for Roush Racing. Then comes Bibby Ruiz from Melling Racing. That Dodge moving to the front. Here comes Zachary DeLello, another Ford behind them. And then comes Roberto Crown Jr. Riley Spurgeon, one of the dominant cars here today. Moving up in the inside with Keyshawn Richardson and Cameron Evans behind him. And here comes Matthew Burnett for the lead. Benny Lynn will once again not be able to lead this next lap. He's been at the front many times, been in the lead many times, but it's never been at the start-finish line here today.
Yeah, that's got to be kind of painful. I mean, it always helps to lead one lap just because of those bonus points, but at the same time, you can always make your way up front. You just can never lead that lap. So I don't know how you really go out about that. I mean, you got a strong car, you can fight your way through the field, but at the same time, you can't really keep it up. You can't keep it up there.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate for Benny Lynn, but maybe he'll time it right just at the end of this race. We'll have to see as we get down towards the end of this one. 9 laps to go, 8 laps to go at the line. Baby Ruiz tried to lead the field up to the outside, but Zachary DeLello's having none of it. Down to the inside. Riley Spurgeon looking out 3 wide for 3rd place, putting Roberto Crown Jr. in the middle. He has a push from Keyshawn Richardson and Conrad Evans, and it's going to be Spurgeon up to 2nd, pushing DeLello clear. It's the winner of the first Gatorade Duel, maybe the dominant car of the day, right behind him. And here comes Riley for the lead with 8 laps to go at the line.
It almost looked like he got loose trying to dive to the bottom there. Did you see the way that car jerked?
I think he cranked the wheel hard left and hoped it stuck, and luckily it did. That car looks very strong. Riley Spurgeon out in front of turn 1. Conrad Evans up to 3rd place, going for a 2nd behind him. Then Nathan Stapleton, first time we've called Stapleton's name here today. That 71 moving up on the inside. And right behind him the pole sitter, Jack Haas. Can he time it right and find a way to win this one?
We were getting pretty bunched up there, but look again, this 28 takes the lead, and it starts to separate the front few cars.
It does. Evans trying to stay with them to try and maybe pass him at just the right time. DeLello tried to clear the 3 wide, but could not clear our pole sitter, Jack Haas. Haas stays to the inside for 3rd place. Behind the 67, in fact, now to the inside the 67, Lathan Strickland moves 3 wide with 7 to go. That's for 3rd place. Samet Oscom's going with him, now moves to the middle, now moves back low in front of Jose Mills. Hunter Reed, the rookie, in that number 45 for the first time today, making his name known back at the front of the field. A push from Mitchell Collins and Luke Rainey behind him, but the front of the field, 2 cars break away. It's Riley Spurgeon and Evans off turn 2.
Well, I mean, like you said, this 28's strong, and then we know the RCR team is strong, so the 2 out front, I mean, that's going to be hard to beat here, but Lathan Strickland is slowly catching these guys, and it might come down to a possible 3-horse race if no one else can catch up to them.
We'll have to see if these guys start battling, or will these front 3 stay single file. Strickland's going to pull out on Conrad Evans. Did not want to stay behind that 31 any longer. The battle for 2nd will help the rest of the pack gain, as now they have 6 laps to go in the Daytona 500. Hunter Reed moves low for 4th place on Jose Mills, shuffling the 7 aside. Behind Reed comes Mitchell Collins and Luke Rainey to help him out. And the side-by-side for 2nd. Here comes the rest of the pack as Strickland clears. But they have to catch Riley Spurgeon with the next 6 laps at 28. Very strong, and look at the run for Hunter Reed off turn 2.
going to go with? He's going to go to the bottom here. It's going to be enough to get to the inside of that 28, though. He's getting a lot of help on the bottom. They're really pushing now, Joe. Oh, it's going to actually lose his help.
Mitchell Collins moved out. His prior teammate in 2000, Luke Rennie, going with him. So, these two know how to work together well. In fact, Collins has won here at Daytona. It happened in the 2000 night race. Now, can he get up front and win this one? It looks like Luke Rennie now going to try and help his teammate out, making a Robert Yates 1-2 with 5 to go. It's Spruce who leading his teammate Luke Rennie right behind him in second. And now can Luke pass Riley into turn 1? He's looking low and gets to the inside.
I figured Riley was going to stay low and have his teammate push in there, but I guess he felt a threat from the 12 up top, and now it's Luke Rennie leading this thing with the 66 behind him, as well as the 9 to 7 to 1, and the rest of the field, Joe.
Yep, the whole field is theirs. Here comes the Alliance teammates of Laura Chung and Jose Mills. They're moving on the inside lane. Anthony Nez in the number 1. Here comes that 21 of Jack Carter, another rookie in the Winston Cup Series. Then Brandon Beal looking for a breakout run, that number 41 just behind him, and watch out for the 2000 Daytona 500 champion. Keegan Thompson's in this. There goes Laura Chung for the lead, coming back to 4 laps to go at Daytona.
Can anyone keep a lead here, Joe?
I mean, I would say Riley Spurgeon, but now he's fallen back and might be out of the running unless he can find a hole down in line.
Laura Chung has a big lead on the bottom here. She might want to be careful how she does this onto the backstretch, because this one's going to get a huge run on her coming off of turn 2 here. Real question is, what is he going to do with it?
Well, Jack Carter might actually ruin that right there because he goes low 3 wide. This might help Luke Rennie of all people. Can he get the draft from Chung to get clear and get down in line in second? He's all but clear into turns 3 and 4. He'll have to stay on the outside lane. Jack Carter, the 1 to second place. A push from Brandon Beal and Keegan Thompson. Sebastian Kukulon. How about Jordan Edwards moving up on the inside, the 83? Yepez with him, coming back to 3 laps to go. Daytona. Brandon Beal for a second, but can they find a way to get to Laura Chung without having to battle each other?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is the
because,
question.
I mean, if they start battling, it's going to bring literally everyone else in here, especially Keegan Thompson and the 29 and the 83. They're all really strong cars. We know that for a fact. But, again, Joe, there's like 3 laps left still. I mean, technically we're on 3 to go. So, where do you want to be at right now?
Well, I'd like to be in that 9 car, but with the run they're getting now, I don't know if I'd want to be in the 9 car, because here comes Kukulon up behind Laura Chung. Edwards with him. Here comes Kukulon for the lead. Edwards still with him. Back around to 2 to go. Laura Chung's going to lead this lap, but won't lead the next one because Kukulon, a flyer run, gets by Dion the Trival. Jordan Edwards looking out, trying to go 3 wide. The 83 tucks back in line. Yepez, Benny Lynn trying to get it done at the end of this race. Justin Seidel and Mathis Wilson. Here comes Brett Sierra back up inside the top 10 at the end of this one. White flag next time by in the Daytona 500.
Committed is Jordan Edwards to the back of this 29.
Not anymore.
He's not that committed. He's not that committed whatsoever, but he's got no help.
No help, but neither does the 29. Benny Lynn has a nice push from Seidel coming. Edwards is going to move out in front through turns 3 and 4, trying to get Lathan Strickland to win as an owner. Edwards out in front. Benny Lynn moving over to Brett Bodine Racing, but Seidel looks to leave him out 3 wide. Edwards will take the white flag with the lead. One final lap in the 2002 Daytona 500.
83 is going to go high. That leaves the opening for the 24 Seidel, but behind him...
Oh!
He shut the door!
Slam the door shut. Edwards keeps the lead. Seidel to second. Wells to third. Brett Sierra to fourth. Matthew Brenna, and here comes Justin Atkins as they race off 2 for the final time.
Is Seidel going to make a move, or is he going to go down the
Mathis
Wells? Wells
Wells
goes in the inside. He's going to try to block.
Seidel cannot block it. Mathis Wells moves low. Where does Brett Sierra go? He looks to stay high with teammate Justin Seidel. Jordan Edwards leads through turns 3 and 4 for Fritz Bradshaw Racing. Lathan Strickland, the owner, looking to get to victory lane in the Daytona 500, the first ever start for this team. Mathis Wells moves out, but it's over. Jordan Edwards wins the 2002 Daytona 500.
Oh, they're 1 for 1.
They are 1 for 1. Jordan Edwards is going to victory lane at Daytona, his second career win. He got it done last season at Riverside, albeit under very interesting situation there. But this time, he had the speed outright Trey to get it done.
What this comes down to is the block he made on Seidel going into 1 and 2.
Exactly.
And then what? It was the block that was it Seidel put on Wells?
Seidel tried to put a block on Wells, but if Seidel could have blocked Wells there, I think the 24 goes to victory lane.
But if he didn't try to make that block, I think the 20 goes to victory lane. I think that block from Seidel really slowed up the 20, and that killed his momentum.
But either way, Trey, Jordan Edwards drove how he needed to win this one. He earned it, and I'm sure Lathan Strickland is one ecstatic man in that car, even though he didn't finish all that well.
I don't think he cares right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty
I really don't think
I'm
he
pretty sure
cares.
he's wondering where victory lane is so he can be the first one there to congratulate his driver. Jordan Edwards was a great pickup for Lathan Strickland in the offseason. He did great things with Everham last season, and this is the exact reason Lathan Strickland picked him up for that number 83, that new Fitz Bradshaw Racing team. And I have to assume, Trey, after winning here at Daytona, they could be a force to be reckoned with throughout this season.
Joe, they look strong. I mean, they were at the front at the beginning of it. They were at the front in the middle of it, and now they're at the front at the end of it, and they won. Joe, if that doesn't show a statement right there, what else do you have to do?
Yeah, it was basically a perfect day for that team here today. They showed the pace they had, and they won it. Lathan Strickland is going to victory lane as an owner. He gets it done here at Daytona with Jordan Edwards, his driver, winning this one. Mathis Wells tried his best at the end, came up just a little less than a car length short, second place for the number 20. Matthew Burnett ends up in third for Roush Racing. Justin Zeidel tried to make it 4 straight Daytona 500s for Hendrick Motorsports, but comes up short in fourth place. And Justin Atkins ends up into the top 5 for Richard Childress Racing. Sixth place goes to that number 25 of Brett Sirasokos to going back-to-back in this Daytona 500. Evan Hunter in the number 36 will end up in 7th here today. Benny Lynn 8th, Noah Clifton 9th, and Diego Yepez a solid top 10 day in the number 44. Hunter Reed, a rookie, 11th place for him. Jamie Stammer Jr., good day in 12th. Roger Ray, Keegan Thompson, and Sebastian Kukulan top 15. So all 300 cars placed inside the top 15 today on a day where there's a lot of shuffling and a lot of randomness. That showed that they had some pace here today as well. Baby Rose, Luke Rainey, Laura Chung, Tim Gary, and Riley Spruce with the dominant car of the day has to sell for 20th place here. As we look down outside the top 20, drivers like Brandon Beal, Eli Bray, Anderson Reed, there's where Lathan finished 24th, but he gets the victory lane. I think that's all he cares about at the moment. Doesn't care about how he finished as a driver, but cares about how he finished as an owner here today. Last season's champion Chris Jericho gets 31st here today, was never in position towards the end. Both the Penske cars of Collins and Fitzwater are down here. Jordan Stout and Zach DeLello, 2 from Roush Racing, are down here. Jose Mills, Samet Oskin, Nathan Stipton, last car in the draft, and then the cars that were out of the draft, 40 of Williams, 22 of Baird, and the 77 of Ronald Kenton. Those 3 unfortunately never got a caution flag here today to make it work. The points obviously very similar to how they are in terms of finishing. People that led a lap or 2 or got the most laps may move up a few positions, but otherwise it's basically how they finish on the racetrack is where they are in points. But Trey, what a day here in Daytona. Caution free, but great racing throughout, and it's Jordan Edwards, one of the underdogs here today, that goes through to victory lane at Daytona.
That I don't know how else you could have. You couldn't make that any better. Like, you couldn't write that. You couldn't think that. That is what makes Daytona special, Joe.
That is what makes Daytona special, especially this Daytona 500. It's one of the smaller teams to victory lane with Jordan Edwards at the helm. And Trey, next race out, it's going to be another very special race as the NASCAR Winston Cup Series for the second race heads to the Atlanta Motor Speedway, where we'll crown a champion later this season. It's the MBNA America 500. Trey, we know Atlanta always very crazy race. This time moved earlier in the season. It's going to be just as good as we saw here at Daytona.
I can't wait for it. I got good memories from Atlanta.
Yes, you do. You've won a lot at Atlanta, and we'll see who can get to victory lane in the second race of the season. Can maybe Jordan Edwards find a way to go back-to-back in that race? We'll just have to tell next week at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. What a race here at Daytona. For Trey Bardo, I'm Joe Rakowski. Thanks for watching JRTV's coverage of the 2002 NASCAR Winston Cup Series season opener from Daytona. Congratulations to Jordan Edwards and the number 83 team on picking up the win in the 22nd ever Daytona 500.